Welcome back to the Rainbow Six North American League. Everybody, Joey, your host here, along with Jesse, Jacob, and our special guest, Joe. As we get started for our second map of the day, it's going to be DarkZero versus TSM. And guess what? Bummer. TSM's own Geometrics is out because he's not feeling the greatest, apparently, and that means that Coach Gotcha is in. So while this is kind of devastating for TSM as they've been doing so well this stage, this is kind of a bit of a golden gift given to DarkZero, possibly.
Yeah, I mean, Gotcha's no stranger to playing in the server. He did play in Challenger League last year. He didn't have the best results with it, but hey, he's the lowest rated player in the league.
Don't have to be so polite about it, Jesse.
But, you know, he has that experience, right? I think there are worse coaches to have playing for you in the server. No offense.
Oh, wow.
Gotcha's
Wow.
Listen, I've played ranked with Joe, okay? We know how things go.
That's fine. That's fine.
There's a reason God is his own team, right?
Absolutely.
But, yeah, this will definitely be a hindrance for TSM.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah, just looking at like Gotcha filling in for Geo in this situation. Geo right now is the top performer in wins on attack. So right now Geo is 20-1 on attack with an 87% kill participation in wins. So huge impact, and he had that amazing clutch yesterday. So like looking at Geo here, he's kind of irreplaceable. So Gotcha can fill that role, but how is he going to get the impact?
I don't really think it's going to happen to the extent TSM need. That's the problem. Sure, Gotcha is in the team. He understands the role, but you're replacing your best player at a moment you really can't afford to lose him, and you have some pretty significant holes on defense that you have to shore up too. So unless you get a really favorable map or something in this ban phase, then DarkZero might have just found their way to get out of where they currently sit in 9th place.
Yeah, well, here's our tail of the tape. As you can see, TSM with a pretty good start so far this stage. Coming into this one, DarkZero was 8th in the standings, TSM was 3rd, but I mean, TSM, one of our 3 teams at 10 points. A win here could propel them to a spot where they're almost certainly going to Berlin, but a loss here throws everything back into kind of the mystery zone, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I mean, although there is a player substitution on the side of TSM, you can't forget that before yesterday, they were looking unbeatable throughout the NAL. They looked so good, by far the #1 team. Lost to X that I think made a couple of dumb mistakes that they won't repeat today. And DarkZero's history has been definitely shakier. They've had some good games, nobody's going to deny that. They've also had a lot of games where it didn't really feel like they were finding those entries on attack. It felt like they were really being read by their opponents. And so I don't think this is like as cut and dry as, oh, TSM have only 4 of their core players, they're definitely going to lose. Because historically, TSM do look like the better team heading into this.
Yeah, they did, for sure. Let's talk about DarkZero a little bit, though. DarkZero is obviously a team that has been struggling a little bit here. They lost to Astralis yesterday. Astralis, of course, though, looking, I would say, probably better than ever yesterday, honestly, with Iconic finally stepping up here. So DarkZero...
It took 2 weeks, but...
I mean, yeah, but better late than never, I guess. But the question is, you know, speaking of better late than never, is DarkZero going to be able to come around in time to get to Berlin? And that is a very tough question to answer right now.
I mean, I certainly hope so. Right now, they sit at 6 points, which puts them, funnily enough, down currently in 9th place, only above Mirage, which is a tough spot to be in, especially considering that they've had 3 losses. None of them have managed to go to overtime. And we talk about this team being a very different squad from how we saw them last year. We talked about DarkZero syndrome, how they were very slow on attacks, and then they picked that up for the Charlotte Major, but they've yet to find that same level of consistency on the attacking half thus far. Right now, they are so far down when it comes to that, and when they start games, it's also incredibly slow right now.
So this is a little graphic I wanted to prepare for you guys. I want to show the first round win that DarkZero has had in every game through 5 matches that they've played so far in the NAL. And what you'll notice is they are almost never, in fact, they are literally never starting off with a win. They always lose round 1. Twice they were able to bounce back in round number 2, but then in 3 of their games, they didn't find a round on the board until round 4 or later. DarkZero have been having slow starts. And Doa, you've said this time and time on the desk. We've actually got numbers to back it up now. DarkZero take time to get going. And in the major, when they could play best of 3s, that was okay. They could talk to each other. Troy could hype up this team. But in a best of 1 format, losing just 1 or 2 rounds at the very start of the game can be a death sentence.
Yeah, they're Super Saiyans, basically. They don't start out super strong, right? They need time to ramp up. They need time to get angry, to power up, right? And in a best of 1 format, like we've said so many times, that can be very punishing. And I agree. I think it's been no better illustrated than this stage in particular.
Yeah, and looking at last stage even too, like it took them all the way to the very last game to finally be able to make the majors. So I'm looking at these standings again, I'm wondering if the same thing will happen with DZ. Will they just take the longest time possible to finally sneak in and then maybe perform a miracle at the major again?
You never know.
That's the problem with DarkZero, though. They've never been that kind of a dominant team domestically, aside from the one time they won one of the online majors almost 2 years ago. But find me another time where even then they weren't like a third place team in the NAL or in regional competition at best, which is a very weird thing to say about a team that is a major champion. But obviously the way that they're able to win in a best of 3 format against teams that they have considerable, like way more or different kinds of prep for, you're not focused on 9 different opponents in the NAL as you are in a major where you have 4 and then another 3 at most in a completely different format. It's just interesting seeing how this DarkZero team, as lauded as they are in some aspects, when they get back into NAL stuff, it's just not the same team sometimes.
Yeah, and again, this stage has been so competitive too. So you can't slip out at all right now in NAL because there's so many other good teams that are ready to jump in and take that spot. Some of those teams are even teams that won the International, say, back in February possibly. Let's talk about TSM a little bit. Now, obviously today the big story for TSM is that Gio is out feeling under the weather. That means their coach Gotcha is in. Now, coaches, if I remember correctly, are 1-1 so far in stage 2.
Right.
You know, Call Out getting a win in week 1, and then we had Gara not quite getting a win with that Mirage match. So the question is, will Gotcha be able to push the coaches into the winning column here with this one?
I mean, I'm not going to say coaches don't have their benefit, especially when they play in a system like TSM's.
Sure.
If you're right there and you decide, let's do something, like Gotcha as a performance coach has been able to kind of drag something else out of this TSM team. When he came onto that roster initially, they said he was finding gaps and weaknesses and things that they needed to clean up with their current strategies and make them a more effective team. According to the team, he was a massive reason why they won the 6th Invitational in the first place. Nice boon to have, and if you can use that mid-round, then fantastic. But the guy that you're losing out on is your top-rated player, your secondary hard breach operator, and the guy who has the highest cost on the team, usually meaning he has the most impact. So we look at this, and I don't like the fact that it's Gio coming out and Gotcha coming in. Maybe if Gotcha was coming in for Chalet, it might be a different scenario because that's the role that he plays, but it's still a massive blow for TSM's chances today.
Yeah, I mean, in football, you take out the running back and you put in the running back coach. You're not going to get the same results.
Right.
Some stats for Gotcha from when he played in Challenger League back in Stage 3 last year. 34 and 56 overall, the worst KD ratio in the league. 15 survival rate means he was dying 85% of the time. 48 cost, having below 50 there is very, very bad. And he was on soft breach. Now, I think it's highly unlikely that he's going to be on soft breach today because when Achieve's on your roster, you let him take Sledge.
Yep.
But, you know, even with him coming in on a support position, this is going to be a role change for him. It's not something that he played with recently. So even that is kind of working against Gotcha in this game.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering what map they want to go to here because with a sub coming in, do you want to go to a map that is aggressive for attack and slot Gotcha into that role, or do you want to play something more defensive and let him play comfortably somewhere, maybe in a death spot? So, like, how does TSM evaluate how they want to have Gotcha play is really important.
Well, let's find out. The bans are in, so it's time to figure out what map we're going to. And I would imagine with TSM, it's probably not going to be theme park, but let's see.
All the way to, to Villa.
There it is.
Is what it's saying.
All right, we're moving right along.
Is this?
Okay, we go to Villa then.
All right then, which is interesting for at least compared to how we've seen Villa already played out over the course of this stage already. I like the fact that we see a couple of very obvious bans off the board. You don't want to see DZ ever take a TSM to Cafe, so it's more a matter of TSM taking their permabans off the board to start with, and then DZ taking off a couple of maps they already understand TSM is very good at. But at least as far as Villa's concerned, I mean, Joe, does that help with your assessment on where Gotcha might get sliced in here?
Well, see, with Villa yesterday, I was really looking to see TSM be dominant on attack, and Exit completely shut them down. So being able to, go back to Villa again, I'm not so sure.
Villa, a map that DarkZero have 2 plays in the NAL, and they just lost to Astralis the day of the finals. 8-7 was that scoreline. TSM on Villa dominated back at the 6th Invitational. 2 plays this year, both losses. First to Astralis and the second one to Exit.
Well, we know where we're going. The question is, apparently, we're actually going to a different map. That was
What?
Well, thank
wrong
goodness.
graphic. We'll figure it out. So I loved all your analysis.
Yeah.
I felt like I learned a lot, even if we're not going there. Even if we're not going there, I felt like that was still educational.
Yeah.
Well,
No time wasted. I feel enriched. But we're going to find out in a moment where we're actually going for this one, apparently. So,
TSM said you can swap a player. Okay, cool. DarkZero can then pick the map they want to go to.
Yeah, this is the Uno reverse card of net bans. So,
any predictions, Joe, Jacob?
if we're not going to Villa, where are we going?
yeah. Oh.
Well, I want a map that TSM can start on defense, so that way Gotcha's not thrust into the attacking fire immediately, given the amount of impact that he's had or that Gio has had on this team. So I'd look for something. I don't know. What's something that they haven't banned very frequently? Like a Chalet, a cafe is something that they obviously would love to go to, but it's never going to get played
I
there.
don't mind a clubhouse.
Would you go back to theme park at this point?
No.
No.
Ever?
Nope, don't touch it with a 6
Curse. Theme
Good
park
shot.
is the curse map for TSM
I think
this year.
with clubs specifically for TSM, like yes, that's a good attacking map for them. But again, Geo is a huge part of those attacks.
Right.
So Gotcha slotting in wouldn't be as 1-to-1. I don't want to see Chalet because I feel like that really favors DZ. So maybe like I don't know, like an Oregon, I guess, maybe. Oregon is very comfortable for defenders, so Gotcha slotting in there wouldn't be the worst. And then if they started defense, he'd have time to ramp up.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, well, we're just waiting to get that map graphic up and running to find out where it is we're going. And, you know, how much do you think DarkZero will be able to capitalize on Geo not being in there? Well, never mind. We're going to Chalet. We'll mull that one over a little bit later.
All right, so welcome to a map that DarkZero themselves have been rearing and ready to play. Haven't banned it a single time this stage. They're very much looking like at some point we were going to go to something like this. And TSM were the ones that get to choose starting side because DarkZero got to pick between Clubhouse and Chalet. And they go attack first.
A couple of streaks on this map. DarkZero, a 3-game winning streak. TSM were on a 5-game winning streak, and then they lost to the Sonics playing with their coach. Lol.
Yep.
I mean, it'll be a good time either way. But, you know, to a certain extent, if you're TSM, you're in this position too. Do you maybe just, set yourself up to play a map that you don't have as much experience in, but you kind of wanted to get a bit of experience in? Is it even valuable with a coach in that particular case? So I wonder where TSM is at with this one. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. For now, though, let's find out what the predictions are going to be. And honestly, is this one a little bit tough? Let's talk to our casters first. Pengu and Intero are waiting to give us their knowledge with that one. But of course, TSM, we would imagine, are going to be a little bit unfavored in this one. But at the same time, DarkZero has been very up and down this stage. So is it really an easy DarkZero pick? Or do you think TSM might be able to still pull it off? Our casters, what do you got to say?
That's a great question, Eric. To be frank with you, I was coming into this match thinking, okay, TSM have the upper hand for sure.
Yeah, naturally.
Not that Gotcha is not, not a bad player, but
he's not a player.
He's not a player, right? I mean, despite the fact that he's tried to be a couple times, it's never really worked out super well for his teams when he's been on the actual battlefield. That said, DarkZero has not inspired much confidence in me so far this season. So when I look at the results over the first 5 play days, I still, even with Gotcha playing, am not entirely sold. I'm going to give the edge to DZ, but I don't think that TSM is going to get stomped in this matchup. I think it will still be quite close.
I'm in a similar mind where if TSM was in full force, TSM takes it. It's pretty simple.
Yes, I agree.
But I get to be happy today because I can predict DarkZero. So all is good in the world. And I can do that without being biased because Geo isn't here. So I think it's going to be close. I'm thinking 7-5. I'm thinking DC victory.
Nick's over here finding an out just to let him pick DarkZero without feeling guilty about it.
You got it.
He's got one, yeah.
I think the reasons are
You
there.
can feel them back at the DZ HQ just like holding the pen over the over the check, and they're like, he better say us. This is DarkZero. They sign it. They're like,
Doesn't
he's
get
getting paid
signed
this month.
unless you pick them. We'll check back in with our casters in a moment. Thanks, guys. So, DarkZero or TSM, our analysts, what do you have to say? How big is the lack of Geo going to be in this one?
Pretty big.
Yeah.
I'd say 7-5 DarkZero.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
I still think it'll be close, but
Even the number prediction.
You'll even if it was anybody other than Geo, I say maybe there's a chance, but no, this is bad.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with DZ here. For me, I'm full Pamba party time. So in wins, he's super influential as well. And he's the huge contributor. Take it.
All right, don't worry, Joe. I got a hot take for you. I'm going TSM.
Overwhelming.
Listen, I think that you're replacing a support player. You can shift more of that weight to the more fragging heavy players on TSM. Chiefs had a great game or a great stage. So is Merc. So I'm excited for TSM. I think they can come out on top. Didn't love what I saw from DZ yesterday.
I think it'd be cool to see. Well, you know, again, this is a big thing for coaches in the NAL as well. You know, as many paths to pro. You either play the game really well, or you know, maybe slip some laxatives in somebody's coffee in the morning. You're like, oh, now I get to play on the stage. What
Is that what you
Gotcha would never.
What do you know? I'm not insinuating anything. I'm just saying, think about it. Let's flip the coin. DarkZero heads, TSM tails. I'm not going to drop this one. Oh, nailed it. It is heads, DarkZero. The coin does not believe in the coaches, sadly. Sorry. Well, there you go. The community poll. What do they say?
I'll have one on my side. I'll have one of you on my side.
Yep, there it is.
It's going to be TSM. The fans don't care. The fans don't care. They're just going to click on TSM. We found this out yesterday.
That was really funny.
Yeah. Community poll. Let's find out what the question is going into our second map of the day. Who is going to be louder? Is it going to be Canadian or is it going to be Achieved?
I don't feel like Achieved gets up and rowdy nearly as much as he used to.
I was going to say, I feel like I've seen Canadian do that kind of thing a lot more, but then maybe it's just a quiet stage for TSM Stage 1. Maybe this is the moment. We'll see. In the meantime, time to take a quick break. And when we come back, the SI champions take on the Charlotte Major champions. Even though we got a coach in, it'll still be a fun map. You don't want to miss it. It'll happen in just a few right here. Don't go anywhere.
Stack chicken like what it's gonna be. Crew in the cut, hey, you want us red run when I tell a peace. Love is love. Love is love. Hold up with it, got my back on Pippin. I'm back in kitchens with the tray. Windows tinted like how black my skin is. Scoop the shorty in it from a J. Swish, she got vision just like any women giving me the kitten. Way before the riches, nothing more to mention. I could light a block of powder or a glisten. Foreign on my body, that's a Gora linen. I came through tripping Aquafina. I'm 715, kept a weapon on me. Flow make bitches, I'm on my business. Stack chicken like what it's gon' be. Crew in the cut, hey, you want us red run when I tell a peace. Love is love. Love is love. Adios. Love is love. Love is love. Adios. Love is love. Love is love. Adios.
Like, ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? Ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? Ayy, coming down like precipitation. I ain't never met a limitation. Hater plotting my elimination. Gotta go to Google for the information. I'm a superstar, so I gotta shine. Top dollar be the bottom line. Bottom feeding out of line. Turn your heart rate to a dotted line. Yeah, my zodiac.
I am Pamazir, and this is the NAL.
Everybody, it's time for our second matchup of the day. DarkZero versus the slightly less prepared TSM, announcing at the last minute that Geonidas, a.k.a. Sleepy Geo, a.k.a. Senpai Geo, a.k.a. Geometrics, is not going to be playing. Instead, it will be another G player. Gotcha.
Gotcha player. Yeah.
Gotcha will be stepping in.
Yep. GU out.
Possibly boosting DZ's chances of prevailing in this matchup. We're going to go to Chalet. So a wonderful winter map. DZ's been itching to play it. The devs said that themselves.
Yes, they did. And it makes sense because DC, they are very efficient at playing Chalet. It's a map that they don't ban themselves almost ever, if ever. And it's also a map that kind of plays into that heavy gunplay aggression that TSM on a normal day could easily match DarkZero on. But with Gotcha, the question comes to mind was like, is this going to be more of like a 4 versus 5 situation? But with that being said, when Sonics had to play with their coach, of Goddess. Goddess put on Jaeger on Chalet, and she was just gunning it out, holding down the fort, getting 5 or 6 kills on the defense, and on attack was doing the plant duty. If TSM can successfully get Gachi in a similar position where he's comfortable playing, and he can get a little bit of value every single round, I don't think it's going to be too bad for TSM. I think it's going to be a close game, and I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Goddess stepping in and playing well. Chalet can be a bit of a hectic map.
It can.
With the results from our very first match of the day, not trying to spoil it for you, but with the results being what they were, DarkZero now finds themselves in 9th place.
Ew.
This is the TSM special. TSM wins SI, and then they immediately plummet to the bottom of the North American League. Same with the Sonics. After they become NAL champions, they also plummet to the bottom. The championship hangover, as we talked about, and
That's
have
real.
said many, many times, is very real. Not for you, though. Not for your teams. You seem to win, and you never stopped winning. As for DZ, they are in the basement. They're going up against a TSM team that entered the day in 3rd place. 3 wins to their name, 1 overtime loss, 1 loss in general, tied with XSET and OXG at the top of the North American League with 10 points. A victory here for TSM would significantly boost their chances of going to the Berlin Major with just 3 play days left. We'll see if Gacha can rise to the occasion as we get underway with DarkZero versus TSM on Chalet. Operator bans coming in first. The 2 attackers removed from play, Hibana and Finka.
I like to think about a lot from TSM to reduce the lethality from DarkZero, although TSM themselves do start the attack inside. As Sami these days, kind of like a mirror of Valkyrie or a Thatcher, we can expect this operator to be banned or played almost every single match, and in this one it will be a ban, not a play. And then DarkZero opting for a bit of some funky bans here. Hibana and Frost on all maps like Chalet. We know that Gio and Chala, they like playing the Frost on maps like Clubhouse, like Chalet, so it makes sense given the circumstance. The Hibana is a bit of a rare thing to see on Chalet, but it speaks to ADS clearing if you play Wamai and Jaeger or Wamai and Rooney, and it makes the attacking job a little bit more difficult as you just have less projectiles overall, and you can of course substitute those on other operators, like for example Gacha is playing the Nomad, but of course you get less lethality on the lineup if you do that.
You love that word, lethality.
Lethality, that's the word of today. Just today.
Used across a multitude of esports titles. Chalet has been played once so far in the North American League. That's it. It was all the way back on Playday number 3, Space Station Gaming versus Beast Coast. Beast Coast prevailed 7-4 in that bout. And if you look at the stats for Chalet, well, there were 11 rounds played, obviously. It was a very attacker-favored Chalet. Only 36% of the rounds went in favor of the defense. By my count, that's what? That means that there was 7 rounds, 8 rounds that were won by the attack. You never do math on broadcast, and I am certainly not a math major. I'm not a numbers guy, let's put it that way. Don't know what kind of guy I am. I guess I'm like a English guy.
You're not an English guy.
Arts guy.
You're Canadian.
Arts guy.
You're not an arts guy either.
Okay, anyway. In terms of bomb sites, Kitchen and Dining was played the most. We can go back again to the Charlotte Major, just as we referenced for Skyscraper in our very first match of the day. It had not been played at all in the NAL for Stage 2, so we had to go all the way back to the LAN that happened 2 months ago, in order, well, a month and a half ago, in order to get proper assessment. We might reference those numbers, but for now, let's just focus on what we see in front of our eyes as we get underway with round number 1.
I think you'd be the guy like a debate guy, like debate class.
Okay.
And that's what you do.
You know that. Yeah, anyway. Oh, nice shot by Merc. Starts things off. And this is the thing with TSM is, yes, they don't have Geo on the board for them. They have Gacha playing instead. But the strength of TSM's players are so strong that even having Gacha in more of a support role is not terrible. You've still got Bolo achieved in Merc, the 3 points of that spear, as we've talked about time and time again, to do a lot of work for the team, especially Merc. If Merc has a good game, frankly, the supporting cast around him is a little bit immaterial because he can carry on his own. So first pick on Hyper, that's good. Nades going down from below to try and shake off some of the denial on that wall as DarkZero was holding towards main lobby and now have fallen off a little bit. This is that bomb site that we talked about upstairs of Master and Office, which was not won a single time by the defenders when it was played in that Beast Coast SSG match.
No, this wall being opened up, the mirror window next to that wall breach as well is like basically useless at this point for the defenders. There is a second mirror window down below and a C4 is also follow it up, I believe, from Canadian, who's now working his way upstairs for a flank. Nice come to Bolo. No one watching it apparently. A jump up from Pampers who finds nobody, but this is now TSM pushing that go button on the side.
And they have a flank watch operator in the Nomad, and that's Gotcha in hand, but those air jabs have gone somewhere, and none of them have found Canadian. Still, it's Pambazoo and NJR for DZ. That's it. A minute to go for TSM to scout out the bomb site. They find Gotcha, and NJR picks up the kill for DarkZero. Numbers evening out a little bit more, but still, at the moment, favoring TSM. Down goes Pambazoo. It's a second kill for Merc through the open mirror window. NJR tries his best, but a 3K from Merc seals the deal for round number 1.
Bit of a weird round number 1. Like a lot of things just like happened that shouldn't have. Like how did Canadian flying against multiple drones and an air jab? It looks like Gotcha was apologizing to Bolo, and Bolo was the person who did die to the flank. So it might have been like either a mispositioned air jab or something like that along those lines. It's all good. It's all smiles from TSM, and Bolo said, "You know what? That's all right, Gotcha. We got the round."
Well, Bar Gaming, the second attempt for DarkZero. DZ are not a team that will go back to the same bomb site within short order of one another, so we might have a rehouse. There appears to be a drone bug being called out by Gotcha, and yeah, Mint, we know that feeling. The look on his face, but for a second, as there will be a rehost allowing the teams to talk. For DZ, that actually might be quite beneficial as they discuss their setup on that bomb site. I don't know if TSM were aware of where they were attacking before the rehost was called, which again, might not allow them time to strategize to the bomb site.
It's true. But I mean, yeah, arguably favors DC in this scenario, but you can only do so much. You can talk about what you're going to be doing, but also talk about what went wrong in that previous round. Hyper falling off really early from the board, dying very isolated on that top of blue stairs with no real support. That's a bit of a concern. Normally on Chalet, you want to be roaming in a pair, like a duo, so you have two people that can play off one another, not just have an isolated member, because that can be taken advantage of very easily by the attackers. And Gotcha's bringing a lot of smiles to the lineup today. Oh my, him and Jason are having a great old time in that corner of the table.
Jason is Bolo.
Bolo, by the way.
I can call him that because we're friends. That's how it works.
Yep.
I do appreciate that while everybody brings ways to like dry off their hands or keep their hands warm, Bolo looks like he has like a kitchen one of those kitchen towel. And you know what? Hard pressed to find a towel more absorbent than one that you find in the kitchen. So I'm with him on that one. We're gonna get underway now with Chalet. Thank you so much for the patience. Back into the action we go. Stats will be scrubbed from the server, but if you're curious, Merc had a large 3K to start things off with. And again, while Geo is not playing for TSM due to an undisclosed / mystery medical illness, maybe he's just too good looking. We don't know what the real reason is for why Geo is away, but Gotcha filling in his place. If Merc can have a good game, enabled by his teammates, of course, Gotcha will have a benefit that's outside of just potentially fragging well. But if Merc can have a huge game, if Achieved can have a huge game, for TSM, sometimes that's enough. And with the woes that DZ have had so far this stage, that certainly could be enough for TSM to get the victory, even with a stand-in play.
You're right. And I mean, I saw Reddit right before the game started, and they raised the question, why is Gotcha the one playing and not Pojo? And I mean, Gotcha did play more recently as a player, and I feel like Pojo was very happy about retirement onto that coaching role, whereas we all know that Gotcha wanted to be a player, you know, even when he was coaching. So it seems to make the most sense, and I also think Gotcha's relationship with the guys, you know, coaching them through the SI victory, etc., understanding what it's like to be in the server under terrible circumstances, it might just be the better fit. Either way, they got their 5th player, even though it's a coach, and we've seen Gotcha do good before, and on that first round, well, nothing much happened of it, but we got many more rounds to come.
You hear the telltale sign of Glaz. His gun is so distinct that the moment you hear it, you know that it's out there, and, well, there's no doubt about it. DZ will peek windows, potentially to their demise. Air jab goes off, Canadian immediately takes care of that, and then repositions. Inside a trophy, nobody from DZ remains.
Achieved always hovers Glass during the attacker repick phase, but never really sticks it, so this time he did, with the Capital as well. Got a couple of smokes going on. Could be a bit of a aggressive situation in about a minute from now, depending on how Achieved wants to approach this round.
Real action just yet. 1 minute off of the clock. Lots of smokes, lots of killing utility for TSM. So they look to try to crack this this bar gaming take that they're right now figuring out. Bolo gains a lot of information off of this, by the way, but Canadians still capitalize off of it. 3 players spotted by Bolo on that single Gemini, so well done and good utility from TSM. Unfortunately, they still give up that first death. Merc will be of no value for this round. Those Twitch drones will be idle for the remaining 90 seconds.
Yeah, and that's gonna cost you, because like if you had those Twitch drones alive, now like we really hand you to clear out those magnets and those ADSs, especially because you got the glass, so limited utility on the board, as you want those smokes to be used, not to be burnt on utility.
Good patience. Hyper follows up. DZ pick up kill number 2. TSM seemingly floundering right now. They got all that intel off of Bolo's scouting and then didn't really use much with it. Their focus has been over towards Library. Glaz is still up as well, with the smokes going out from Capital. Achieved can do some serious damage here if he finds his mark, but there's nobody from DZ that are presenting themselves. Instead, DZ have scampered off over towards the Library, leaving just NJR to hold against the hordes of TSM. No drones seem to be coming in, so a nice shot from NJR will net achieved, and immediately a fall off from the top floor. TSM's entry not working out very well. Canadian in the basement catches Gotcha off guard. Once teammates. That's always a funny thing to see. Leaves Chala upstairs with 30 seconds left. A flawless round for DZ in the works, unless Chala can get a single kill or more. Clutch factor is there, but not accomplished. DZ take round number 2.
And it's flawless as well. Very easy round for them. Just 1 versus 1's going in DC's favor, and NGR sure almost got injured by the glass of Achieved, but not quite. He did stay alive, so a flawless does count. 1-1 so far as round number 3 is underway. See the bottom side, kitchen, dining being chosen from DarkZero. So we're going master bedroom, bar into kitchen. No basement as of yet. It's funny because basement in ranked play is typically like the starting bomb set that most teams go to, but in competitive play, it's often deemed very hard to defend just because you got those exterior walls that the attackers can abuse and open up very early on. You don't get to play with much of the map control, where when you go kitchen, you got a whole floor above to work with. When you go bar, you got a whole floor above to work with. When you go basement, you can try and do a soft roam, but you're typically stuck in the basement itself. That's typically why you don't see it as frequently in professional play as you normally would in ranked.
Actually quite surprised with how TSM goes from looking so formidable in round number 1 to looking like a shell of themselves in the span of 3 minutes.
It was that rehost, you know?
Yeah,
it crushed them.
Absolute mental boom, as you want to call it.
Oh.
TSM have trotted out Sens before. How do you use Sens? Well, you use them by being very slow, because Sens is a 3 armor, not exactly the fastest operator in the game. But the tricky thing with the ROU gadget, which is that little disc that sends up the beams of light, the wall of light, is that it can have a bit of a mind of its own. You can't control it. It's not like a drone that makes the smoke for you. Still, synergizes very well with the glass. It's Bolo's turn on the Russian operator to see through the smoke. TSM have brought out Sens before. If you recall back, they had a bank matchup where Sens was brought out just once, but they weren't particularly effective despite TSM winning the round. I'm curious as to how the experiment will be this time, as Sens is being brought for a take on a kitchen.
Yeah. So the way it's coded is that it works the same way as a Candela. If you bounce it off a wall, it'll like go in a certain direction trajectory-wise. So once you learn the lineups with Sens, you get a lot more value similar to Ying. But it's an operator that just takes a lot of time and experience. So if Merc plays Sens now, it's very likely that Merc will keep playing the operator for, you know, extended duration of time throughout the next couple of months and seasons, because it's one of those you need to be good at using the utility to get much value out of it.
Speaking of value, Rotero drones right now paying off quite well up from above. Just wanted to say how that utility from TSM is just absolutely tearing through what DZ had.
Absolutely right. Wall getting opened up, this right now is going to start that fun zone for us, because this is now where Merc on Sens can get active, right? You can essentially smoke wall the entirety of the bomb side, split it in half. Bolo on the glass can see right through it. We see Canadian in the basement looking for a flank during this moment.
Here comes the ROU across the wall, leading this smoke, as you can see, and it's almost a perfect lineup, but it's answered back by a Pokeball from Canadian. Toxic Canister goes off, and NJR. Suddenly, DZ have found a lot of killing, and Canadian is down below, again on a flank. He likes this. ROU, dissipates. They lose access to it. It hit a mute jammer and stopped working, so just like that. Not exactly the success that they want. Achieved has been put on flanked watch to try and stop Canadian from getting back. All the while, his teammates dying well above. Merc engaged, and that's one kill for TSM, but a lot more to be found is now Achieved, forced off of flank watch. And guess who's going to benefit from that? Old Canadian. Down goes NJR. A nice shot from Achieved. 30 seconds left, and again, Canadian lies in wait. Sitting downstairs amidst the recycling, amidst the trash. At a moment's notice, he can come back up. Thriving. In his lane, flourishing, as they want to call it.
Oh.
Achieved will actually be able to get this. Not a lot of information. And there's Canadian, dead. Down for the count, no way to be returned back to form. TSM have been a very scrappy late round, but they still got 2 more kills to go. And look at the Kingmaker above, Hyper. ROU goes out, but he'll be able to net at least 1 kill. And he waits, there's one. A second could follow up as Merc is in. Looking to the right, and there's one to the left. Eclipse seals the deal, and DZ take the lead off of that round.
That to do, and TSM really gambled everything on a simple use of gadgetry. The smoke wall with the glass, they just like, that's going to be an easy one. They stopped planting, and honestly, it was very close to working, but NGR found the kill through the smoke with a bit of luck and shut down the plant from TSM, and after that, they didn't have anything else going for them. It was a good situation. We got in the flank. Canadian got shut down by Achieved. That didn't work out for them, but the bomb has to have gotten down in those scenarios. Otherwise, you're not going to be winning as an attacker because your entire lineup depended on it. So it's one of those, it didn't really work out that well. It's a very simple approach. Now, because you've shown the glass twice and you've shown the sense, you're going to start seeing stuff like NGR and the Warden happening a lot more frequently in case that were to be repeated in the future.
Well, who's going to be louder? What's the answer here? I mean, I think Canadian probably, and there you go, 68% to 32%. I'd say that's about accurate. Hard-pressed to find somebody louder on the stage than Canadian when he just fully goes off. You could hear it rooms away. The times that I've been at a LAN event and he has gotten mighty, mighty loud, and I can hear him literally down the hall. Clear as day.
Yep.
Countless.
Chalet Majors a few moments where, you know, we're casting in front of them and you can like hear them through the headset, just like screaming stuff. And like, goddamn. Honestly, Canadian these days, as he's gotten older, as we all have, he's not getting loud every single game, every single round, but he still has his moments when it's like a very tight game that matters a lot, or when it's certain matchups, of course, of rivalry.
Well, look at what it is. It's a downstairs defense for DarkZero, and through 4 rounds, they've gone to every single bomb site now, so kudos to them for that.
Bingo!
Again, not a lot to glean from the Chalet match between SSG and Beast Coast that we saw on Playday number 3. Only 11 rounds of data for us to go off of. But the general rule for Chalet is that it tends to be quite friendly to the attackers, and if that number really does hold, then that's terrible for TSM because they've already forfeited 2 rounds, and they forfeited the first kill as it's DZ to take out Merc. Again, Merc dies early on. He had a superb first round, but after that, it's been quite lackluster. Even though he played more utility in the previous round, he still wasn't able to do much in terms of the scoreboard.
And it's a Jackal as well. It's going to help you with the roam game that you need so desperately now because there are roamers from DarkZero up on the top floor despite this being a basement defense. And Achievement, a nice vertical kill onto Eclipse, but they need more than just this. With Geo being out, there's a little bit less gunfire on this lineup, so Merc is a crucial member together with Achieved and Bolo to find these openings. See if they can get some more. Canadian roaming around across the entire map every single round.
And he's been quite successful too, if we want to talk about it. He's been the master of disguise as he's managed to take many, many shapes on a variety of operators. Again, it's commonplace to see Canadian fulfilling that 6th pick role, as a lot of people call it, that flex pick role, where he can just go wherever he wants. That's a holdover from the 6 pick days, but point being, he can be as cheeky as he wants to be. That's a kill for him. A nice one from Hyper, too. TSM is just getting fed to the wood chipper at this point. Panbazoo, a missed opportunity. That is uncharacteristic of Panbazoo's abilities. Usually he doesn't miss those. Picked apart by TSM. It's a 2v2. So DZ's early gambit and the advantage that they had in terms of numbers has now been cut down. And it's an even ball game.
It is 2v2, 40 seconds left. So this is an interesting position because it doesn't really favor the attackers or the defenders. Whoever gets the first kill for that 2v1 is going to be in a great position. TSM has a hard time getting inside the bomb site, but once they get in, it's even fair game.
Nades ready, but Blue has already escaped at that point, achieved shouldering some damage from NJR deep inside of Wine. Canadian now poised to strike again off site, but he's going to test the reflexes of a Chalet. Chalet can't do too much. He'll throw in some utility, walk through the breach, maybe to his undoing, but we'll see. Both players from DarkZero side by side. Chalet beheaded by NJR, leaving Achieve to try to clutch out. He can't even connect on to Canadian as the captain from DarkZero is the one to net the final kill. It's 3-1 in favor of DarkZero as they are running up the score on a Chalet defense.
That they are, it's looking good, but I mean, the common factor here is just that TSM falls early on. Merc dying early in the first minute is really costing them. I will say, Bola and Achieve did a good job at trading each other out onto Hyper later on. Then a second kill came from Chalet onto Pambasu as well, who missed a lot of his bullets. But if that was an even 5 versus 5 round, well, TSM finds himself in a 3 versus 2 rather than a 2 versus 2 in that situation. And that is a much more favorable position because you can actually plant in that moment. Bar Gaming is up next. Same, similar lineup from both sides. No shenanigans this time, no funky playstyles. Gotcha right now actually doing the most flexibility for TSM sides, doing both the Nomad, the hard breaching, the Flores. Now this time gets to play the Ace. Chalet goes from Thermite onto the Dokeabi. This of course also helps you with finding the roamers and of course gaining control of those bulletproof cameras if you are lucky enough to get an early kill and hack a phone. That's when Dokeabi is the most lethal or the most successful. If you don't get that early kill, you just get to ring the phones and you get smoke grenades if you choose that, which is still decent, or flashbangs, but ultimately you want that early kill to get some information.
Well, after going upstairs to an unlikely bomb site that had not been won by the defense just yet and then was won by TSM, there's no attempt at the bedroom and office site. Second time's a charm for Bar Gaming. This is where DZ won their very first round and started that perfect rotation that we see them go through with Bar Gaming and then Kitchen and Garage to follow. All things really working out for DZ. 3 first bloods in a row, and they've won all the rounds to boot. TSM's entry was good on round number 1, but then after that, quite subpar, and they've really struggled to pin down the roam. I wonder if, because Geo isn't there to do flank watch, if DZ's game plan is, okay, we know that Gotcha's not going to fit in, we know that we might be able to push this, they don't have their typical flank watcher, let's flank, let's roam more aggressively. This is going to be a major sore spot for TSM. If that was a deliberate decision by DZ, it seems to be working out quite well, because it does seem like that's a sore spot for TSM, given the success that both NJR and Canadian have had on the roam.
Absolutely agree. And if it doesn't get punished, you gotta keep doing it until it does, because it's 3 rounds, 3 picks, and that grenade is so close, but just misses because Hyper walks around the corner. He stays alive. Good amounts of utility here being spent from TSM, but not really a whole lot to be gained so far. And more magnets will be loading up with time, so TSM, they're working against the clock right now with only half the round to go.
Merc made his way in round number 1 and got droned in for a second, but then picked up that 3K on top of the first kill, and it's the only time that we've seen a first blood for TSM, and look what he's done again! Merc, as I say his name, walks in, takes out Hyper, but TSM assess that the bomb site is open, and there's for the taking, a second kill from Merc. Bolo slaughters Panbazoo. Chala's in the corner waiting for a drop from above, but Merc picks up a third again! Merc is killer through these mid-rounds, leaving just NJR to retake from lobby, and how about a 4K from Merc? He really does it all in that round, and it gives TSM their second win on attack.
Yep, when Merc is online and activated, TSM gets the round. That is how it goes right now. But it also means that it's a 2-3 scoreline, which means, well, TSM, they really want this third round, try and even things back up and get that nice side swap preference. So where will the final bomb site take us? To master bedroom by the looks of it. And all we just need here is Merc to stay on Iana on that ARX. Very strong weapon to be in a preferable position to get those kills. NJR bring up the mirror, same fashion as last time, and looks to be in the same exact positions. One here on the wall to Ivy, and then one mirror down below in the dining to oversee the fireplace lobby area, as you can easily see below. It's an interesting mirror window position. I say interesting because the moment that wall gets opened up, the mirror window's gone. It's practically useless. But in another way, it gives you an angle from piano in towards the breach as well. That kind of favors the defenders as you can hold the crossfire. It might be that might be the reason as to why it's positioned there. Of course, the Chief goes away from glass onto Sledge because that is always what he does, except for that one time. And I spoke to a Chief about this, or to Bolo rather, about it. And I said, Bolo, how come a Chief is always hovering glass in the attacker repick phase? And Bolo said, well, it's an operator that nobody really is going to play. So if he picks the sledge, we can pick our operators. And then at the the last 10 seconds, a Chief can pick the operator that he wants to play and needs to play. And he doesn't like clash on anybody else. So that seems to be the reasoning as to why that's happening.
Look at this site rotation from DarkZero, and depending on if they win or lose, I would be curious to know as to what the thought process is behind this. Because this bedroom bomb site upstairs, bedroom office, that was where they went first, and they lost to TSM quite decisively, which is another word of the day I think that we can use given what we saw between Parabellum and SSG. Yet they go back there. DZ won kitchen. They're not going to go back there a second time. They won garage. Okay, it's locked. You can't go there, but you still have other options, and this is where you choose to go. They like it more than kitchen, even though they weren't successful. Merc gets a nice kill. I didn't know the target range was inside of Chalet, because down goes Panbazoo, no fight back whatsoever. Hyper will retake and might catch Merc off guard, but Merc is seemingly powered up. Since the rehost, Panbazoo has not been able to find the scoreboard, and that is not a great position to find himself in for DZ.
It's not. I mean, now it's hard because now you got a Hyper all alone with no help to be found. Nate comes out, injures him on the staircase, and now it's a 3v5 effectively, as no one from DC can really help him out. NGR trying to make a hero play, maybe get a kill for his own money, but no, he runs away and gets shot in the back instead.
Well, and down goes NJR. It's another double kill for Merc. This is 3 rounds where Merc has gotten more than 1 kill. How about a triple? Not too bad at all. 8 kills to Merc's name, plus the 3 from before the rehost sits him at 11 kills through 6 rounds, and there's still more to go. These multi-kills from Merc are huge, and again, will be a major contributor to a win by TSM, should it come out. Canadian last alive, and it's a flawless round from TSM. What a performance of their own. First half in the books, both teams get a flawless round. I think they'll take it. Nothing really gained, 3 rounds apiece. We go to the second half.
That we do, and now we're going to see DC in action on their attacking side, and something that they like to bring that TSM didn't is the Nuke, so I'm curious to see if they're going to bring that out early or if they will do that later on. See the operator lineup right now. No Nuke in sight, but of course the attacker repick that can change, and TSM are starting to go to the basement, which was DarkZero's 4th option, so to speak.
2 things of note as we now get into the second half. The ban on defense from DarkZero was Frost. If you've watched any of TSM's matches on Chalet, you know that Frost is a critical operator in their lineup for this map. It's usually played by Chala.
Yep.
Chala's going to have to flex to another role on a number of these sites because his usual operator, Old Faithful, is not available. But because Gotcha is playing in place of Geo, that also allows them to switch up roles if they want. Maybe put Chala on a safer role, he'll play Smoke now for this first defense, and put Gotcha on another one of those flex, roam-style roles. Not entirely sure, we'll watch it. As we get underway in round number 7, prep phase is done, into live action we go. 3 First Bloods for TSM, they won all 3 of those rounds. 3 First Bloods for DarkZero, they won all 3 of those rounds. And both teams got a flawless round. DZ got it in round number 2, TSM got it in round number 6. No timeouts used, every single bomb site played by DarkZero as well, to varying success rates.
A lot of things have happened, a lot to unpack. Right now we can look at the attacking lineup and say that both the Dokebi and the Jackal speaks to the early aggression from DarkZero, clearly playing around that opening pick and early kill advantage that you mentioned has a 100% win rate so far. Whoever gets the first kill has gotten around, so those are great operators to have at your disposal should you need it. Of course, you see Canadian flexing around many different operators in both this match and the previous ones because he is the flex player of DarkZero, and often he'll find himself going alone inside the building, taking an area in control, and sitting and waiting for his team to make the first move. Merc, similar playstyle, that lone wolf kind of player on the defense, roams extremely aggressive, sometimes to TSM's demise, but usually he finds success, or at least a kill, in almost every single round when he does it.
Merc gets droned out, and then a logic bomb comes in, nicely caught by Hyper. That was rhythmic by DarkZero, well calculated, and it puts TSM in a bad spot. Merc, who has 3 multi-kill rounds to his name, will be no more. Next one up is Chala. Canadian has been sitting on this Dokebi role quite a lot for his team, and he'll be able to hack the cams off of the dead Merc as well. Pamba, next one up. Upstairs in Solarium, Logic Bomb goes off, that's achieved, and his feet will be spotted too by the Jackal, so a bit more pressure will be put on. The good news with having a DMR in your hands is the ability to destroy walls very quickly. It gives him a line of sight to the bottom of those Solarium stairs. Now it's Pambazoo's turn to collapse onto the Aruni. Will do that. Down goes Achieved. Next one up. Who is it? DZ are just storming through this TSM defense. Gotcha and Chalet are the only ones left. Gotcha still searching for his very first kill. Scrambling right now inside a back bar, and well, he's the only one left up. Can he do anything? No, he can. It's a flawless round from DZ, answering TSM's. What are we witnessing in these matches? Realistically, they should not be so one-sided, and yet here we are. TSM, a flawless. DZ answers up with a flawless of their own, and DZ regain the lead because of it.
I was gonna say the exact same thing. I mean, we just saw Parabellum SSG, and there's like so many flawless rounds, and now in just 7 rounds, it's a third flawless in this matchup as well. And it's weird because we don't see flawless rounds very often. Normally, like someone always dies or something goes wrong or whichever, but it just has been very decisive rounds so far today. And we are only on game 2, of course, but this could just trend throughout the entirety of this Playday.
Yeah, I don't know.
Doesn't make sense?
It doesn't make any sense. I mean, we saw it yesterday. We didn't really have any blowouts yesterday. Even in the games where they were quite lopsided in terms of, yeah, teams at the top of the NAL, teams at the bottom of the NAL. Most of that doesn't really matter because if you look at it, it's so close, right?
Very close.
9th place team was 4 points away from 1st place. That's a win and a single point. That's it.
Yeah.
That's really close. A single win could completely upheave the results in the NAL.
Yeah, essentially a 1 week, aka 2 play days, can completely shift who's on top and who's at the bottom. At the very least, scramble the points even closer together. Now we'll see the bar defense coming out from TSM, bringing the mirror of their own, and of course Merc now on the Valkyrie. So arguably a little bit more of a passive lineup, as you can play around utility and information, instead of just taking those gunfight and confrontations. So let's see Merc play with his teammates and play those 2v2s or 2v1s, because if you're just running around solo bolo, like, it comes down to a 50-50 gunfight, and there are so many easy ways for attackers to cut their rotations on this map, right? We see it with the windows on library, the window in master bedroom, the Solarium windows, etc. So many different avenues attackers can use. It's also why we see Canadian always being alone, just trying to catch people in rotation, and look here, he might have a person on the west main stairs about to walk down into his crossfire.
A lot of people were very critical of the way that Canadian was used on DarkZero when he joined that roster, and well, I gotta say, they won a major championship off of his play, but also he's been on a much more free-flowing role, not necessarily on hard breach, back to some of those old reliables that we've talked about time and time again, and he's really succeeding for this DZ squad. The problem with that is that you haven't had the best and most consistent performances from people like Hyper and NJR. Pambazoo has been pretty consistent, one of the most consistent players in all of North America, despite the fact that he's having a pretty lackluster game here on Chalet. That point aside, DZ are liking their roles, and there is that flexibility there. TSM is another team that likes their roles and has tons of flexibility, and have been doing much better in this stage since they seem to have figured things out after having a sluggish and poor performance in stage 1.
It's always hard to gauge if you got the right roles or not, because if you judge it too fast, you're gonna swap off before you make it work. And DarkZero, it looked weird at first, but they stuck it for a whole season and for the major, and it finally looks like they figured things out around the Chalet time. And of course, that's also a big part of why they won the major and why they've been doing so well. And Canadian himself finding much more success on the flex role nowadays than when they first implemented that strategy.
First pick goes to Pambazoo, said that he wasn't having the best start here in this matchup, and he goes and proves me wrong, so a start to this round is pretty good, but the start comes with just 50 seconds left. An answer back from TSM now. Both teams losing one. Mr. Appreciation Post himself taking on NJR and winning in that fight. Merc still alive. He's the difference maker for TSM and has proven that consistently. If Merc gets a multi-kill, they win the round. And in fact, all 3 rounds that TSM have won have come with Merc getting a multi-kill. This round, not the case though. He swings and he gets punished for it, but Chalet has a multi-kill of his own. Chalet with 3 kills suddenly, but he's punished by Eclipse, and there will be no more. As Merc bleeds out, it's achieved in a 1v2. A secure by Eclipse as the diffuser was getting planted, but they don't know where Achieved is. He lies in wait. From above, a drop from Hyper. He looks like Spider-Man as he hits the ground. DZ have now taken 2 in a row, and TSM do not have an answer to DZ at all. It prompts TSM to take their time out.
Oh my god. So Eclipse was about to plant, but then they figured out that there was no cover really being had, so he stopped, held the angle, but Hyper just drops the hatch and domes the last member of Achieve on TSM and finds that final kill. tactical timeout. Both coaches can talk to their team and their players and figure out what's going on. And TSM, well, they kind of got two coaches right now. So hopefully there's not going to be any clashes between, ideologies of how to play the game. Whereas DC, well, they kind of have Troy, who's like a semi-coach, but they only have one real supporting staff behind them. That is Mint.
I mean, you've also got other people who work behind the scenes at DarkZero. That's quite a large organization.
But they're not behind them right now. Whereas Gotcha's both on the headset, and you got Pojo on the headset.
Yeah, but I don't think Gotcha's gotten a single kill in this match yet. So, I mean, what he might bring in terms of leadership is definitely not being made up for in the way that he's playing. And I don't know what's going on with Gio. We wish him well and hope that he's okay. Obviously, being forced to sit out a game at the NAL is not ideal and suggests that something is wrong, quite wrong.
Yeah, it does. So hopefully he'll be back. I think they said actually he'll be back next week already. So
yes, TSM's official account said that this was just for one match.
So we can deduct from that it's not something ridiculously bad, but of course, hoping for a good recovery for his side.
All the best, Gio.
All the best.
All the best. Wish him well. As always, if you want to tweet at Gio on Twitter, go ahead and do that. Just wish him well. At Gio. Hope you're feeling better, champ. There you go. There's a good tweet, LOL.
We miss you. We needed you. You weren't here. Screw you. Come back next week. Hard. Something like that.
No, not like that at all.
It's pretty accurate.
Learn how to talk to people.
I'm sorry.
I beg you.
I beg and plead.
This is an upstairs defense now as you go over to bedroom and office. This was the bomb site that, again, has been won by the attack both times and does not have a successful defense yet in stage 2. This is the 5th time that this bomb site has been played, and it is 0 for 4 for the defenders. DZ see a potentially wounded TSM not playing to their full potential, but TSM took a timeout and then deliberately went to this bomb site. So clearly they have something that they feel confident in, or else they would have gone to the kitchen bomb site if they felt that that was a better opportunity. Chala's already been downed, by the way, so maybe this isn't the best entry point for TSM to get themselves back into the match. But Bolo does get the first kill. Chala hasn't been finished off. Canadian is close enough, and almost a missed opportunity. Canadian could get more than one. He gets the secure. Look at all those bullets! Canadian's a fire hose of damage, and TSM are taken out one by one by one. Suddenly it's achieved in a 1v4 with still 2 minutes to go on the clock, and it's Eclipse to catch him on the rotate back to the bomb site. DZ storms to match point.
And that's Troy getting loud right there. He saw the woo coming out from him on the on the camera. And I hope we get a microphone replay of that at some point. But oh my god, look at that LMG go rat-tat-tat-tat. 150 bullets, finds one, finds the second, confirms the kill so no injury or no revival comes out, finds the third on Bolo, and almost gets the fourth as well, but it's Hyper instead of got it.
I go back to that video of Canadian on Skyscraper playing as Ella when she had like 50 bullets, and he's just pre-firing everywhere and then kills somebody on the stairs and goes, I'm Ella. And now he is playing Ella's sister in Zofia and does it with 150 bullets. Wow. Wow, wow. What a performance that was.
It's always fun.
Hey, you can have boomer reflexes and boomer aim like Canadian does, and because you've got such a huge buffer, you can continue to fire. With all that gunfire that we saw, he still had 81 bullets left at the tail end of that clip. Really remarkable stuff. Timeout for TSM evidently does not work. They go to a bomb site that is now 0 for 5 this stage.
Yep.
Not a single successful defense of the bedroom and office bomb site upstairs. Not the position that you want to find yourself in. So where does TSM go? They're going to go downstairs to Garage. They've been unsuccessful across all of the defense. They had some good showings on attack, but TSM really struggling without Gio. Gotcha still searching for his very first kill. And that's not the position you want to find yourself in.
Yeah. It's funny because TSM was showing a lot of new stuff in the first couple of rounds, and then when that wasn't working, they said, you know what, let's go back to the good old reliable, the things that we know and the things that we can execute on more accurately. And their attacks, they got better towards the half end there, or the last remaining half. But now the defense, that's kind of where things get scrappy because you gotta now play the map dynamically, right? You gotta hold onto the ground with confidence, take the correct gunfights, make the right decisions, and when you're playing without your main player, that is just so much more difficult. I want to see if Gotcha now on the Jaeger can find a bit more success, but it's Bolo instead who gets taken off early from Panbazu on the piano window.
We talked about how Panbazu was a little bit slow to start. Gets the first kill in 2 rounds in a row. Now Gotcha walks right into the waiting arms of NJR, as does Achieved. 2 for the price of 1 on that entry point. 2 minutes to go. DZ are speed running their attacks at the moment.
Yep.
And now Merc will watch from far enough back, gets droned out and misses that opportunity. This must be a frustrating one from TSM. With how close the North American League is in standings and how much TSM want to be able to avenge their poor performance in Stage 1, this error that's being committed by not having Geo, not great. Down goes yet another. Merc is the last one standing. He takes out 2, and there's a third lined up as well. Playing off of the kitchen. It's a game of Ring Around the Rosie. A potential pocket full of Posey, who knows? Diffuser getting planted by Eclipse. Merc's attention is elsewhere. He's got Pambazoo watching, but he's nowhere near the bomb site either. Successful diffuser planted. Hard pressed to think how TSM is going to make themselves win this one. Merc heads back to the bomb site. And there's one watching right in front of him. Pambazoo swings. That's it for the ball game. 7-3 in what was closer in the first half. But as we say, Chalet's attacker favored. And DZ proves it. 4 rounds in a row for DarkZero on attack. Yep. That was a fast matchup. TSM hurting by not having Geo. Gotcha not the stand-in that was enough for them to keep it close. The whole team seemed to suffer. And as good as DZ was, put a little asterisk next to this matchup because it wasn't teams at their best.
Certainly, I mean, this is a matchup that we thought was going to be extremely exciting and very close, of course, given that both teams showed up at full force. A win is a win.
On paper, I had this as my match of the day.
I think that'd be pretty accurate, actually.
And then
this happened.
And then Gotcha comes in. And not that Gotcha's bad again. He could be a great coach, but Gotcha's days as a player are well behind him. And it was a rough performance for them.
It was, I mean, it also just speaks to how much impact one player can have on a team, because when one element is missing, it affects every other piece in that puzzle, unless you can make a one-to-one transition from coach to player, which just isn't feasible, not realistic. So, yeah, you gotta work around what you can. TSM did their best. It wasn't enough. Maybe next time.
Yeah, I mean, it's, again, TSM not at full force. That happens. Sometimes there's an act of God. Sometimes there's an unknown medical illness that hits you at the last moment. I know that more than anybody, but at that time, you know, you get Gotcha to stand in. I do wonder if Pojo would have maybe been a better substitute, because the team, when they had Pojo on the roster, actually performed quite well. These are questions that we don't have answers to, frankly. But DarkZero pick up huge 3 points. They were in 9th place coming into this matchup, and they were just gifted, essentially, a free win. That's it for Nick and I today. Blue and Stokes are going to take you the rest of the way. But before we get into our third matchup of the day, a short break. We'll be back in a couple minutes.
Don't give up on me, yeah.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Rainbow Six North American League. Doe and Jesse Jacob. Joe, here with you at the desk. And over in Vegas is none other than DarkZero's own Pambazoo. That's right, they got the big win over TSM. It was a close first half, Pambazoo, but you managed to take it in the end. So a win's got to feel good at this point. DarkZero, some much needed points there. After coming in as major champions in Charlotte, to then, at this point, having it be a little bit of a tougher road for stage number 2. How's it been getting to this point? Do you feel like things are kind of starting to come together on the team? Sounds like we're having some audio issues there. There you go.
I don't know if he was hearing us.
I don't think so. I don't think he was. If I had to guess,
I don't think he knew it was on camera.
I wouldn't need to flip a coin for that. I think I probably can guess that. But hey, what do you know? So I thought I'd just go through it, go for it anyway. We'll see what happens.
There's a chance.
Yeah, I had to try. You just try to go through things smoothly when you can. But sometimes you can't. That's just the beauty of live television. That's how it works. Hey, you know what? DarkZero, you and I were talking about this a little bit. It was a fun first half, wasn't it?
I thought so. I mean, I didn't think this game was like a disaster for TSM at the start. Obviously, when they moved onto defense, things started going really, really poorly. But I thought that Merc had a lot of impact at the start of this game. I thought that, there was some really cool, creative stuff as well. There's Sen's play. There's a lot of Glaz play being brought out from TSM on their attacks as well. So I like that they were at least trying some stuff. I know they were switching Gotcha around to a couple different roles as well. He started on that Nomad, that flank watch, was put onto hard breach. I don't think he ever went for planting. So I like they were trying some different stuff on attack. Ultimately, didn't do enough to get them the win, but still I thought that was pretty cool.
True enough. All right, now I've been told that we do have Pambazoo standing by in Las Vegas. And so, Pambazoo, DarkZero getting some much needed points there. Had to feel good to pick up the win. Stage 2 has been a little bit of an up and down struggle. But do you think that things are starting to come together on the team, or what do you think needs some working on yet? Give me sort of a general state of DarkZero right now at the end of this week.
Yeah, like you said, it was a much needed 3 points. We definitely had a few rough games, and we try not to let it affect us. I think that the biggest issue was just the map pool and the maps we were picking. And we've been talking about that as a team, and I'd say we fix those issues, but obviously we won't see till next week. But I'm feeling confident for the rest of the stage, for sure.
All right, great.
Pamba, every single game so far in the NAL, you guys have lost the very first round. Now, is there something that you think just hinders you guys at the start of games? And how do you take these games that start off kind of poorly for you guys and always or very often transition it into an actual successful game?
Yeah, so we're actually very aware of that issue. I'm not, well, I mean, I guess there's a lot of reasons why, but I'd say it kind of just takes us a little bit to get into it, realize what's actually happening, get our comms up, just know how the enemy team's going to play for the rest of the match. Obviously we got to overcome that, but I'd say we do a good job staying together. We keep our heads high, and it's been working out. So, it worked out today.
Yeah. So my question for you, Pamba, is you're a contributor for wins very heavily. You have a lot of kills and very few deaths in those rounds. Who is your core enabler on the team to find those kills?
Probably Troy. I think in a lot of my spots, I usually work most with Troy for sure. Either he'll drone me or he'll see something on his own and he'll call me over. I don't really work as much with the other guys, I wouldn't say, on our attacks. So 100% Troy.
So run me through this real quick. There's, within the top 15 or 20 players currently in the North American League, about, I'd say, 70% of them play Finca. Your Newers, your Gunners, you specifically, your Grixers, your Sweaters, your Spirits, all of those guys. Amongst all of the Finca players, where do you see yourself in the list of all of those names of people who play the same op?
The best.
Nice. I like it.
Okay, then.
I like the trophy to prove that,
Nothing
too.
more needs to be said. Yeah. All right. Yep. So looking ahead to the end of the stage, obviously, Charlotte was a big deal. DarkZero kind of coming in at the very end, right, getting that spot in the major in the last game of the stage. Going on to win the major there. Then sort of the struggles here in stage 2. Obviously, you want to get back to another major, but since you've already won one this year, what would getting back to a major, what would getting to Berlin mean to you?
I think teaming with Troy kind of makes you realize that cool, we won a major, but at the end of the day, like, who cares if we can't qualify to the next? Like, if we get smoked, like, it doesn't really matter. Like, try not to really think about the past. You got to look at every other event as something brand new. Like, you should have the goal for every single event. Like, you cannot get complacent. So, like, it's cool that we won, but if we don't make the major, I mean, who cares?
It's like he said, I think right on stage right after you won, it's like a win only lasts a day. So cool to hear the fire, cool to see you get the win today. Good luck with your practice for next week, and I'm sure we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Yep, thank you.
All right, so Pambazoo from DarkZero, like he said, picking up some much needed points, able to do it without a ton of effort once kind of the early few rounds were over. 7-3 victor over TSM, obviously is rough for TSM with Gotcha in, but these things happen right now. In any sport, whether it is E or otherwise, you're going to have replacements once in a while.
Sure, I'll put it this way, though. I feel like if the possibility for Pojo to have played in this game had come up, I feel like they put the wrong guy in. I feel like Gotcha probably wasn't the answer in this case. We already have a documented track record of Pojo subbing in for Gio in instances like this. He was out with the visa issues, like around the Mexico Major, wasn't able to come back in time for most of those games, and they had a pretty decent game plan going into it. You obviously face an issue with this was less than a 24-hour turnaround from understanding that you won't have Gio to now not being able to play with him and have to find a way through it. But I will vouch very strongly for the notion that TSM put the wrong person in to substitute for them.
Yeah, I know Pojo has spoken in the past about how like he doesn't want to be a player, he likes being a coach, he doesn't want to be jumping in when he has to, and maybe that's something that, like part of the reason why they wanted to pick up Gotcha and get him on the squad. I agree that I think Pojo probably would have performed better. But this is the choice they made. The very first round, Gotcha got a kill, and I was like, okay, he's in. He's firing back. And then there was a rehost, and he didn't get a single kill after that. So that kind of tempered off pretty quick.
You're playing flank watch and roaming, that's a problem.
Yeah, and with Poj playing too, usually Bolo powers up. So in this game, just wasn't there.
Interesting. I mean, hindsight's 2020, right? So I mean, maybe they'll look back to this. Hopefully, we'll have, hopefully we'll have the full squad playing next week. But if they don't, maybe they'll make it swap there. Because I mean, I think TSM is in a position where you can kind of give one of these up. They're still doing pretty well points-wise overall. Merc, though, was really kind of the linchpin of whether they won or lost a given round, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, Merc had a fantastic attacking half. It went 11-3 through the first 6 rounds. And you can notice as well, 3 opening kills, 2 opening deaths. There's only 6 rounds and a half. So that means 5 out of 6 rounds he was involved in that opening pick. And the rounds that he was getting the opening death, both of them, he ended up losing with the team. They lost both of those rounds. It felt like every single time he was either the first one down or he was having a huge impact, getting big 3Ks, 4Ks, running around on the Yana. I love that he was being able to play that. You saw TSM ban out the Finka, and I actually asked for that earlier yesterday on the desk because I said, listen, TSM, I thought they played a pretty good game when their opponents, Astralis, I believe it was, banned Finka against them. Merc had a really good time on Yana. They did it themselves. They brought out Yana. I thought Merc had a great time. Did not translate at all when we got onto the defensive half of things. We'll bring up his stats here, 2-4. No real opening kills for him, 1 opening death. Was trying to run around the Oryx, run around the Valkyrie, but never found success.
Yeah, at least on the attack, that's what you want to see out of your entry. But on defense, he's got to play that more like denial entry role, and just wasn't able to translate.
Yeah, unfortunately for TSM, I mean, there were those moments of brilliance. It was a 3-3 half like we talked about, but in the end, not having Gio in was just too much of a detriment for them to kind of overcome. And, like I said, I feel like this is a very close stage. You don't want to give up any points, but if any team is in the position to kind of like do that and still be okay, TSM is probably one of those teams, but we'll see how the rest of the stage goes at this point. But for now, let's zero in on a couple rounds in particular from this last map. The first one we're going to look at is actually going to be round number 3. Jobro is going to take us through that one. We're going to get to see a little bit of play after a Sens wall is used. Obviously, Sens, one of the newest operator, and making their gadgets sort of like work in favor of your team has been a bit of a challenge. It's very different in terms of gadgets we've had in the game in the past.
Absolutely, and we're not going to just zero in on this round. There's no zero in play, but we have a Sans instead. And looking at Merc here, he walls off the dining side here so that Chalet can come in and plant. But Chalet, you notice, just plants in the default spot, which doesn't take advantage of the Sans wall as much because Chalet can plant anywhere in that room now. But instead, he plants default. There's a smoke that comes out. I believe NJR pre-fires him, and he dies on the wall for free. And I believe this round closes out without TSM being able to do much.
Yeah, after this as well, they did try another Sens wall later on, and the exact same thing happened. He threw the Sens wall, Then we saw another player go in, pick up the kit, plant in a relative, I think it was right on bomb chash or something, and again, a pre-fire through the Sens wall killed the planter. So it's like, man, if they'd gotten a little creative with that, maybe they would have had something, but not using it correctly.
I don't mind it when new ops try to get used, especially for somebody as seemingly very useless in pro play as Sens has been so far, but like, I don't think either time that we've seen TSM use it has been very impressive at all.
Definitely strikes me as one of those operators that's going to take some practice. I think a lot of people have been saying that too. I mean, there seems to be, like you said, the opportunity to plant in different places.
Give them frag grenades. That'll solve it.
Or
There's
you
some
could just do
creativity
that.
there too with the glass, and
never
they just
know.
didn't take advantage of it.
Exactly, yeah. Well, let's look at round number 9 now. This was a bright spot for DarkZero. Obviously, Canadian able to frag out once in a while, and it's just fun to watch. What can I say?
Listen, Canadian's a great player, and I don't want to take that away from him, but LMGs are so broken, man. This is a crazy play from Canadian. Watch him start firing. Now here he goes. And he stops firing, give it a moment, give it a moment, give it a moment. 81 bullets still in the clip.
Just never
He
ends.
literally could have done that twice, and he's still able to shred through everybody. 65 now. We are in such a meta right now where players can run through and you get some crazy plays like that, you get some highlight moments, but man, oh man, on the receiving end, that is so painful if you're TSM.
Problem is, he was taking advantage of knowing somebody was down at that moment, and there
For
was
sure,
no
for
one
sure.
to stop him on his way to killing the down Chalet, finding somebody on the double door, whipping back to Jaeger inside the closet. The situational awareness from TSM to actually put a stop to the LMG menace was also considerably lackluster. Like, setting the weapon aside, TSM have some things to shore up on that defense specifically.
Yeah, fair enough. So there you have it. Second map done and dusted. It's going to be a DarkZero win over TSM, but we are going to look ahead to our third matchup of the day. It is going to be Sonics taking on Exit. I'm sure one of the people on the desk has a lot to say about that one. It's going to be fun. Don't miss it. We'll be back here on the Rainbow Six North American League in just a bit.